Hey sports fans, I had a blast spending nearly a full week exploring a city that I'd always dreamed of visiting, Sydney, Australia. Of course, my trip included sports, as I was able to watch 2 sporting events during my time here. I covered those earlier in my Australia series, and I'll link to them in my description below. But I also had a great time exploring the city as a tourist, and I did my best to cover as much as I could during my 6-day visit. If Sydney is also on your travel wish list, hopefully this video can provide some inspiration to make your own journey down under. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ed and I chronicle all my sports travels on my website Itinerant Fan. It has guides to all the stadiums in the major American sports leagues, plus some college stadiums and even major venues around the world. Check it out sometime if you're into traveling for sports. Located on Australia's east coast in the state of New South Wales, Sydney is often cited as a top tourist destination for travelers all around the world. That certainly applied to me, as I'd had Sydney on my wish list for years before finally getting a chance to go. Coming from the west coast of the US, my family traveled 15 hours on Qantas, Australia's national airline, and arrived at Sydney's Kingsford Smith International Airport. It's located about 12 kilometers south of Sydney's central business district, and to get there we took advantage of the city's train network. The T8 line travels north and makes several stops within the CBD, including at Central Station, the closest station to where we were staying. After dropping off our bags, we made a beeline to see Sydney's most famous sight. To do that, we used the local light rail network and headed north through the CBD to Circular Quay. The light rail is a convenient way to get around for tourists and locals alike, and made even more so by the fact that you can tap to pay for each ride. Circular Quay is the jumping off point to catch a ferry in Sydney's extensive network, and from there we got our first glimpses of the city's most famous sights, the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and of course the Sydney Opera House. A lot of what to do in Sydney revolves around the extensive waterfront. On the other side of the CBD is another popular harbour district, Darling Harbour, and it was from that point that we boarded another ferry so we could experience what it was like going underneath the Harbour Bridge. It became clear to me pretty quickly that to get a real feel for what this city has to offer, spending time on a boat or ferry was a wonderful way to do so. As a first-time visitor to Sydney, I found myself focusing a lot on the CBD and what to see around this central area. I gotta think that's a natural reaction, especially when you have a building as iconic as the Opera House there for looking at. We made multiple visits here to get a glimpse of it from all sorts of angles. It's also a cool place to hang out and people watch, thanks to an attached restaurant and bar on the lower level. We didn't eat here, but it was nice to see how popular it was. Meanwhile, the Harbour Bridge can be enjoyed on more levels than just looking at it. The most popular way to do this is known as the Harbour Bridge Climb, where adventure seekers walk along the structure all the way to the top of the arch. Personally, I'm not that adventurous, but fortunately for me, there's another way to take in those breathtaking harbour views from above. Walk along the bridge to get to the pylon on the southeast side. There you'll find the Pylon Lookout and Museum. And for an admission fee of $29.95 per adult, you can climb the 200 steps to the top, with a museum documenting the bridge's history in the middle. The view at the top was the real reward, of course, and we were fortunate to visit on a sunny morning to bask in all of its glory. After descending the pylon, we continued across the bridge to get to North Sydney and the amusement park located along the water, Luna Park. It's free to just walk in, but you can also purchase a rides pass entitling you to one of the many attractions on the grounds. We were content to just walk through and enjoy a breezy afternoon, but my daughter did partake in a few carnival games. And then we walked over to nearby Milson's Point to catch a ferry ride back to the CBD. It takes about 10 minutes to cross over back to Circular Quay. Though it required a lot of walking, we continued to explore the immediate area. That included a stroll through the Royal Botanic Garden, where you can get another great view of the Opera House and Harbour Bridge from a different angle. We eventually wound up at Hyde Park, where we got a glimpse of the Archibald Fountain. I found another good way to explore the CBD was to spend time on George Street, a pedestrian-friendly avenue that also has light rail lines running through it. The Sydney Town Hall can be found along George Street, as well as two historic shopping centers. The Strand Arcade dates back to the 1890s and boasts 3 stories worth of shops. Just a block away is the Queen Victoria Building, also from the late 1800s, which is a favorite of visitors due to its historic design inside and out. With my young daughter in tow, I made sure to take time for another top attraction in Sydney, which required another ferry ride. The Taronga Zoo is located on the bluffs of Sydney's North Shore and showcases the wildlife of Australia and Oceania as a whole, including animals such as echidnas, koalas, and capybaras. With the water playing such an important role in daily life in Sydney, we knew we also had to head to the beach. A half-hour bus ride from the CBD brought us to the shoreline and Bondi Beach. This is one of the world's most famous beaches, and just getting to see folks enjoying it on a Sunday morning was quite a treat. Even though it was winter time, it was a gorgeous day, so we thought about getting in the water ourselves. But first, we thought we'd take a walk. A popular trail starting at Bondi and heading south runs along the water and passes by several more beaches, and we spent about an hour strolling this path until we arrived at Bondi Beach. It was here that we decided a dip in the water would be appropriate, and it was a decision we didn't regret at all. So no matter the season, the beach is something definitely worth experiencing in Sydney. I like exploring a city's food scene just as much as I enjoy watching sports, and I had a couple places in mind on this trip to Sydney. One of my first stops was the Sydney Fish Market, located just west of the CBD in the Pyrmont neighborhood. It's home to numerous vendors, most of which naturally are selling seafood in lots of different forms, from sushi to takoyaki, raw oysters, and much more. There's also a large outdoor dining area where you can enjoy your food. We went with a standard fish and chips, as well as lobster mornay, something I had heard was very popular in Australia. It's basically a cheesy lobster tail, which was perfectly fine to me. Sydney's CBD has a pretty large Chinatown district, where you can find numerous Asian vendors, ranging from large restaurants to small eateries and food courts. I visited a number of these businesses during my time here, grabbing some comforting soup or other noodle dishes, and also some Hainanese chicken. A particular highlight was this ramen shop called Gumshara, which I had discovered from a few Sydney food vlogs. I'm thrilled to say that this place didn't disappoint in the slightest. We reserved a day for venturing outside Sydney, taking a 2-hour train ride each way into the Blue Mountains and stopping in the town of Katoomba. From there, we made our way to Scenic World, where you can experience the natural wonders of this region in a number of ways. One of those ways is by riding what's touted as the world's steepest railway. Originally constructed for a mining operation, it now feels every bit like an amusement park ride, with the dramatic music to boot. We also rode the Scenic Cableway, which goes up and down a nearby mountain, and the Scenic Skyway, on which you can travel above a gorge while getting views of the region's highlights, including the Katoomba Falls and the famous Three Sisters Peaks. Or you can hike among many trails to reach some of the more scenic lookouts here. Though it rained pretty steadily on the day we visited, it was still quite a sight to see some of these natural features. Our week in Sydney was an absolute delight, and it was a pleasure getting to see what makes this city tick, and why it's a must-visit for any traveler. I'd love to know if you're planning to visit Sydney soon, or if you've been recently and experienced some of what was featured in this video. Leave a like or a comment below and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we'll be making a lot more stadium and travel videos like this one. And if you're looking for more info on other major cities or sports venues, head to itinerantfan.com. Thanks for watching and happy travels!